And that is something that was unimaginable just 2 years ago. And now we can just build these things.
Yeah.
It's a great time to be alive and to be an engineer.
Welcome to this next episode of Flexport Freight Expectation. Today, I'm here with Alex Nederlof, our own Alex Nederlof, our technology leader for customs and AI at Flexport. There are two things that everyone is talking about in logistics, which is tariffs and it's AI. So you're the best person to talk to because you love tariffs and you love AI. But I want to have real talk today. There's so much textbook wisdom. There's so much, big concepts, that nobody gets any wiser about. So I want to get real practical today. And I know you don't like talking textbook wisdom, so I'm not too worried about it. So let's jump into it today.
Let's talk about the tariffs.
Let's talk about the tariffs. We had a big announcement yesterday on the Tariff Simulator.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so last night we launched the best place, I think, on the internet to find out what all these tariffs mean for people. It's been very hard to keep track of all the latest regulation. People had to do a lot more work to find out, for example, if there's aluminium in your product or steel in your product. We now need to file like where it got smelted, where it got casted, the percentage of aluminium and steel in there, the date of entry matters, the date of loading matters. And so it's become almost impossible to figure out quickly what the expected duties are that you're going to pay on a product. And our customers were very confused, and we spend most of our time answering phone calls from customers, helping them figure out what the expected cost is going to be, because of course this has a lot of impact on their margins and on their business. So we created a Tariff Simulator that we launched yesterday. It's free for everybody to use at tariffs.flexport.com. And you can use it to see the duties that you will be paying when you're importing into the United States.
Yeah, it's really cool. I know, we conceptualized this thing 5-6 weeks ago and brought it to market very quickly. Yeah. It was a little bit of a squeeze here and there. But I think the adoption is pretty good overnight already.
Yeah, I think we did like 1,500 tariff calculations in the first 90 minutes or something. So it's really taking off. Obviously, there's things we want to improve. There's a lot more we can do, but it seems that customers are really liking it.
Yeah, it's like, I think if, the way to see it is it's kind of like a self-help trade advisory service.
Yeah.
Obviously, pitching for ourselves. If you want to go deeper after this, we have a trade advisory team helping our customers out. Hey, but let's talk about AI. AI is going to fundamentally change this industry.
Yes.
I am convinced of that. There have been a lot of trends before, blockchain, etc., where I was always like, let's see what's happening. This one, I'm a true believer because I already see the impact. What I want to do today is actually go, through a shipment, starting with planning, and then ending with customs and go really deep on customs with you and see where does AI already have impact? Where do we see it's going? And what can our customers, companies do to get on the same bandwagon?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's start with planning, right? Every shipment starts with an order.
Yeah, so on the order side, I think what you're going to see is that it takes a lot of deep knowledge and expertise to run a very efficient supply chain. And AI is very good at absorbing massive amounts of data, regulation, and find trends and opportunities. On the planning side, we will be able to, for example, look at how you're moving your goods, and if you're, for example, underutilizing your container space or your contracts, and helping you figure out how you can optimize those parts.
Yeah, and based on the packing list data, we know how much customers are underutilizing their containers. We have now launched this buyer consolidation program, which is powered by our supply chain optimization. That's AI.
Yeah, the AI plays a critical role here because the packing list digitization alone was something where it wasn't worthwhile doing this manual before, but with the AI just doing this in the background, we suddenly have access to more data to do these kinds of optimization algorithms.
Yeah, and then the optimization itself?
That is just traditional computer science and very smart people putting it together. So one of the things that's really cool, why I love working at Flexport, is that we have both the tech and the expertise in-house. to combine it together into our products.
Yeah, and this is also, a lot of companies have all traditionally done these kind of like supply chain planning studies, and they hire a consultant. The consultant is going to look at it. The consultant is going to say like, oh, if you would have done X, Y, and Z, you were going to save 8%, right? But then the reality is they saved 2%. I think that's different for us, right? Because we can actually implement this on real production data. So the algorithms are running real time, and you're going to get much closer to that full potential of whatever, the 8% that I just mentioned.
Yeah, I think consultants also just have limited time, or you have a lot of money to spend on them. So they'll always work with a limited data set. And like you said, the AI will just run on all data, and it will always be on. So it will be there exactly when you need it. So I think that's a big difference there.
Yeah. How about planning, right? Planning is kind of like the same, right? Which container goes on which contract?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a similar story, right? We have to digitize quite a bit for that, and we have to do planning, which is more like traditional machine learning, etc.
Yeah. So one of the things there is, of course, pricing. Rate sheets, when I first saw them, amazed me how complex they are. I thought they would be just people sending each other a number for a certain lane, but it's these very complicated Excel sheets that are actually simulating based on a number of conditions. And of course, logistics being logistics, it's not standardized. And so everybody has their own way of simulating their pricing, and it changes over time. So one of the things that we're able to do with AI is actually ingest all these different sheets and other ways from which we get rate data, and then we build it into the Flexport marketplace, and that, for example, now allows us to do something cool like instant price and book, which we recently launched, and do internal cost optimization for planning the most efficient routes.
Yeah, it's a funny anecdote on this. I was, I think it was 5 years ago, sitting down with a staff engineer at that point at Flexport, and he was talking to me about like, but these contracts that all came in Excels and in Word documents, at some point there is a model which is a large language model, and I was at that point like this guy is talking a different language. But like 5 years later, this is exactly what's happening. At that point, nobody heard about it, and it was just like I was talking to a geek that I didn't understand. Now it's reality, so it's also moving pretty fast.
It is moving really fast, and the key differentiator there, the key difference there is that what's happening behind the scenes is that the AI can actually write code, and the AI can write tests for its own code. And what it will do is it will understand these contracts and build like a mini program that goes like, this is how the pricing works for this scenario, and it will use that code into the larger overall Flexport system. And that is something that was unimaginable just 2 years ago, and now we can just build these things. Yeah, it's a great time to be alive and to be an engineer.
It's a great time to be alive. It's also a great time to be alive and working as an engineer at Flexport, because you have all that data set available to deploy these cool applications on. Let's go into customs, because that's your bread and butter. Yes, your home turf. Where are we, and how do you envision the future?
Yeah. So if you told me 2 years ago that I would be talking very enthusiastically about customs, I would have said you were probably crazy. But I actually started to love and enjoy this. And I think there's very few other areas where there's so much opportunity for AI, because it's a heavily regulated industry. The regulation is very complex. It differs per country, and anything that you do, you need a lot of expertise. So that's really where AI makes a big difference. And the other thing is that all data, knowledge, planning exchange happens today mostly manually. So it's people emailing each other, calling each other, and sending each other PDFs, which I also consider like manual exchange. And all of that will be able to get digitized. So the future of where we're already at with Flexport is that we've digitized all of our inbound data flows using AI. So all your commercial invoices and packing lists and arrival notices, anything that we need is already digitized. That allows us to run automation further downstream. And for example, that allows us to do all kinds of checks on it, and we can immediately escalate to a customer when we're missing data. very common scenario in customs is that we're missing certain product data, like does a shirt contain cotton, which triggers different HS codes for in the US. That allows us to feed back to our customers faster, and all of that just makes the whole experience smoother for our customers.
Yep. And where is this going to take us? Are we going to get AI classification?
Yes.
AI real-time compliance?
Yeah. I think it's one of the things we're both very excited about is the always-on compliance. So there's a couple of things I think we need there, which we have very promising internal proof of concept for. One is, so obviously you need a very good understanding of the rules and regulations, and the Tariff Simulator is actually one foundational pillar there where we really have the complete mapping out of one country's tariff system, and we'll have that for every other country as well. The other thing that you really need is automatic classification, and not just HS code classification, but also to the best of your abilities, finding out if there are special agreements that you need to take into account, trade agreements, that kind of thing. And then the last thing...
Before we go to the last thing, I see, we're here at TLM in Munich, right? I see a lot of other companies offering, HS classification, tariff simulators, whatever is out there claiming a lot of AI. Mm-hmm. What is real? What is a myth, right? Because there's a lot of claims, but there's not necessarily always substance when I'm looking into it.
Yeah.
What's your engineering view on this?
I think a lot of companies are just riding the hype, and when you actually ask them to show what they've got, they'll struggle. But it's really easy if you. If they have something, they should be able to demo it on the spot.
Yeah.
And I invite everybody to come by our stand and check out the actual demos that we have, and you can see it in action and try it for yourself. But that kind of separates the hype from the real implementation that's out there.
Because what I see a lot is thin layers on an LLM, right?
Yeah.
It's basically input output. Make it look nice. Make an LLM look nice, and we all know, and we've done, of course, a lot of tests with it. If you run a classification through an LLM, you're going to get to 80%, but not better than that. And 80% is not 99%, which you need to get it right. So what's between 80% and 99% to get this right?
Yeah, so for classification, the AI is only as good as the data that you feed it. So you need to get real good at feeding it exactly the right data, engineering the prompt. So how you instruct the LLM to behave is an art by itself. And you need to have other than, of course, like the talent and the technology stack to be able to develop this in the first place. And you need to have a system where you can run this in parallel to your manual human operation, like in a shadow program, so you can compare it to the human performance and then keep improving it in the background. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of problems that the startups have is that they don't have this real data to develop this on, so they always will need to work with a larger partner. And on the flip side, the very large companies don't have the tech capability to develop.
So we found a sweet spot here.
I feel like I'm in the sweet spot.
All right, so you were talking about ingestion, you were talking about classification. There was a third one you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so there's another thing is, of course, we work with a lot of standard operating procedures. Our customers have all kinds of things that are important to them, whether it's for their financial reporting, for their compliance reporting, or actual compliance like anti-dumping and countervailance and trade agreements. And one of the things we're doing, which is automatically understanding what these standard operating procedures are and automatically applying them to the customs entries for these customers. And if you combine all of these, what you get is an automated compliance agent, if you will, that is continuously monitoring all the entries that you're filing with the government and will therefore much faster be able to spot potential problems that we then can correct before the government even sees them.
Yeah, you're saying a word called agent. AI is already a pretty misunderstood,
Yes.
a concept. People understand it on textbook, but not in practice. Agent is a degree, more misunderstood. So tell me more about agents. What are agents? And
Yeah, we needed the new buzzword for 2025, and
it became agent.
Agent.
I'm only thinking about the Matrix always when I hear agents.
Yeah, so ours is Agent Smith.
Exactly.
The difference from an engineering perspective, because everybody calls everything an agent now because that's the new buzzword. There's no clear-cut definition, but really what we mean with most people mean with an agent is that the large language model makes decisions by itself. Now, these can be very small decisions. For example, it can decide to search the internet, or it can decide to look at a particular set of data after you've asked it a question. So, for example, our insights builder is an agent because it determines what it thinks you mean, and then it will figure out itself what actions it's going to take to answer your question. And the opposite of an agent is typically what we would call a workflow, where document digitization is an example of a workflow where we have certain steps and they're always executed exactly like we've programmed the AI to do it. So it's not really making any decisions. So if the AI is making a decision, small or large, we typically call it an agent. And the more impressive agents are, of course, the ones with a lot more choice. And then we can even do things like multi-agent or agent hierarchies, where one agent, for example, let's go back to the Insights Builder example. There's a governing agent that is its goal in life is to answer your question to the best of its abilities. And it's using another agent, which is the safety agent, and its goal is to safeguard our customers' data, but also protect us against people trying to hack the system. So it is checking the other agents for prompt injection, data leaks, and that kind of thing. And so you can get these networks of agents that collaborate together to get to a result.
What are the agents that you are going to be most excited about?
The compliance agent.
The compliance agent is definitely...
Today I'm most excited about our Insights Builder. I think I've not seen any other really impactful AI demo at TLM, and I think it's one of the best examples where you can really feel connected to the future of what's going on. So I would really invite everybody to come try that out or to get a demo from us. It's really what the future is going to feel like. It's only one vertical. Of course, we're going to do it in a lot more places. I'm personally very excited about our compliance agent because it will really, with all the proof of concepts that we have, we're finding so many small discrepancies, and I think we can just deliver much higher quality. This agent will, of course, be invisible to most of our customers because it's running in the background.
Yeah. The other one that I'm really excited about is the voice agent.
Yes.
Where we talk to truckers, factories, for document collection, appointment setting, etc. That's a super cool use case as well, and we're deploying quite a bit of that at this moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest in this area, which makes sense because logistics is weirdly unstructured, and a lot of everybody knows this. We spend a lot of time in our email. We spend a lot of time with documents. We spend a lot of time chasing other people, getting clarity on something, disputing invoices. There's all these things that AI agents can basically also do. So we use agents to schedule trucking appointments, and we use agents to call truck drivers and ask them if they can take a load. We're doing that for the US right now. And I think those agents, where their goal in life is to complete a shipment and they're allowed to do certain actions that run autonomously, I think are going to save us all a lot of time and headache because they take the boring stuff away of coming to work, opening your inbox. Oh, Hank still hasn't replied to my email. Send him a reminder.
Yep.
Somebody emailed me an update that the truck is 1 day late. Now I go to this other Excel sheet or the Flexport system and I update it here on this column. It's just mind-numbing work. And I really look forward to the day where we don't have to think about that anymore. And can
one of your famous sayings in the company is an email is an API. Tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think that's really where we're going. So when I joined Flexport, I think 4 years ago now, the biggest struggle was that trying to get people to integrate together, because once you have the digitized data, if it comes through an EDI or an API, then you can do all these automations, but just having systems talk to each other was so damn difficult. And then still people would email each other, which blew my mind, because most industries I've worked in, people just have everything integrated. But then with the rise of AI, I could suddenly see that really, especially for customers, we no longer care. Like if you just want to email us your documents, it's as good as an API for us for most cases.
Yeah, our whole the foundation of Flexport is structuring unstructured data to get a better user experience and lower cost ultimately and better quality. And this made it, the AI agents made it so much easier to get that, because it's long tail automation if an email becomes an API. So I'm very excited about that aspect. So what does this AI do for our customers, right? What's the impact that we're going to drive with this?
I think it's not going to be an iPhone launch moment where one day you'll wake up and you'll have this...
living in the Matrix.
Exactly. It won't be like that. I think what we're going to see is... so all that uninteresting toil of like handling email and chasing, that will like slowly disappear. So the overall theme is quality will go up. I think that's what you will really see, and it will be a lot smoother. So there's none of that chasing and haggling and email handling. There is small mistakes that we're seeing a lot in the compliance area where actually that shirt was a smaller size, so it's now classified as clothing for infants instead of clothing for adults, which in the United States is a different HS code. All of these small things will get automatically fixed, and that just significantly reduces your exposure, your risk exposure, and it will just make the journey smoother, so it will be more reliable.
Yep, cool. Now, a lot of companies I'm talking to, they have this question, it's like, okay, this all sounds very interesting, but how do I actually start?
Yeah, I get this question a lot.
And let's not get too fancy, but there's a lot of things, low-hanging fruit you can actually do to get started, right?
Yeah, so my getting started tips for anybody, I don't care if you work in a company that still uses Microsoft Excel 98, there are things that you can do today. So if you're not already using a more advanced search, like Google's launching its AI search right now, but you can use Perplexity today, which is already a shift from finding the answer yourself to it answering you. If you're lucky enough to work with Google Workspaces instead of the Microsoft Office environment, you may have noticed you have Gemini now. Gemini is really good. And we use it a lot at Flexport for our email generation, doc reviewing. You can build Gemini gems that automatically, basically you can build a knowledge base of certain documents that you have internally. You can answer questions for you. Microsoft has Copilot. Today it's a little behind, but you never know what's happening tomorrow.
Google was also a little behind, and now they're ahead again. So
yeah. And I think if you're in any kind of leadership role or knowledge role, you really need to have a ChatGPT account or Claude account or Gemini account. But it's such an accelerator. We use it for all of our formatting, doc generation, evaluation, deep research. I use a lot. Before this podcast, I ran 4 deep researches on like some of because I didn't want to miss any of the latest news. So it summarized everything that happened in 2025. And I use it a lot in customs because I'm not a customs expert, I'm an engineer. But it can tell me anything I need to know. Just the other day about, for example, CBAM regulation into Europe and how it came to be. So you're just accelerating yourself by using these tools. And they're not that expensive.
No, and especially in these super well documented domains like
Yes.
customs, legal, etc. There's a lot there to learn and to accelerate yourself in learning. And so that's basically saying like get yourself an account on an AI.
Yeah.
What else? Because we did quite a few more things right in the company to get everyone on AI, to get every engineer excited about AI.
Yeah, so what we did internally, so first of all, we made AI available to everybody. This is step one.
And we hooked up our knowledge management to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all of Flexport has access to our internal agent, Alfred. And Alfred knows all of our Confluence pages, so our wiki pages. So it can tell you from how much PTO you can get if you work in Amsterdam to what the SOP is for a certain customer when you're handling their customs. And it indexes all Slack. If you're on Slack, you know how hard it is to find things somebody said in some channel somewhere. And we have all this knowledge indexed, and Alfred has access to that. And we're slowly building this muscle of the internal super agent that has access to most of our systems just to make all of our people more effective. And there's a lot more we can do there. I'm especially excited around the sales tooling that we can do where before you talk to a customer, we can resurface the latest conversations that we've had and what's happening for the customer and which shipments did they do lately to really have everything top of mind when you're talking to your customers. And there's just so much you can do there. The other thing, of course, on the engineering side that we did was we did a number of hackathons.
They were very exciting.
They were very cool. If you're
quite a few products actually went to production.
Yeah. I think the shipment P&L, the bean counter went live. We have a number of internal agents that help with scheduling that went live. And just give people a week to mess around, give them all AI keys for the development environment and get them the best tools. I mean, we give everybody, I think, 3 different AI tools. If you're an engineer at Flexport and you can use any of them to do your job, and it just makes everybody significantly more productive.
So this is all real.
It's all real. It's all here.
So I wasn't wrong with believing that this is going to materially change our industry. What is one of the biggest misconceptions about AI in supply chain still?
I think that it's going to take all of our jobs. I think is a really bad one. I think AI will mostly take away a lot of the toil and be an accelerator. Mm-hmm. One of the things we talk a lot with customers is in trade advisory, it's really what you're doing is simulating. But a lot of that is also uninteresting work, like figuring out, if you go to the Tariff Simulator, you'll actually, if you scroll down, you'll see a map of all the other places you can source.
Yep.
And just making it easier for somebody that makes decisions to access this kind of data is where AI will play a large part. But it won't be like, oh, you can just reduce your staffing by 80% because it's still, as you can see at TLM, it's a human.
It's a lot of humans involved. Yeah, 70,000 I heard.
Yeah, exactly.
So, here alone. Yeah, no. So the way I see it, and especially when I look at deep research and stuff like that, I used to come from management consulting, and I had associates doing deep research for me. Now I have unlimited associates doing deep research for me, which makes life super interesting.
Yeah, everybody has their own intern/researcher. And exactly. It makes us more effective.
Well, thank you so much. This was great. I think we all learned today that it's actually real. You can put it into practice, but the key is you need the data set to deploy it on. We worked for 10 years on the underlying data set, the wiring and the piping of this industry. So now we are building that application layer. So that's going to be probably the biggest challenge for most companies, that they don't have the data set to deploy it on.
Yeah, what we see a lot is people that work a lot with different vendors, and they have the data is not connected for them, right? So they cannot combine their customs data with their shipping data and their planning data and their financial data. And you really see companies that are able to combine all the data together and link them so you have a deeper understanding. I think those are the companies that are going to come out really well.
Yeah, and that's why we are also able to launch the Business Insider AI agent. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Yes.